Okay, okay. Alright. So we're going to be talking about Protoss versus Terran. Protoss versus Terran is not too dissimilar. Well, it's probably the matchup where a Protoss player can be the greediest as well. I'm going to show a 1-gate expansion, and then being safe with shield batteries against any attacks, and then just moving in to a heavily upgraded gateway army. The couple things to note are using your chrono boost, super pylons, shield battery placements, and when you need them. And also, of course, basic scouting and does he have an expansion? Does he not? We will see. But as a Protoss, your first pylon is very important because of pylons and super pylons. A pylon, which is within a short range of a nexus or a warp gate, not a gateway, but a warp gate, becomes a super pylon. You'll see the little animation there. It becomes a warp conduit. Super pylon is way more fun to say. And it allows you to warp in 3 times faster. If you don't have those, especially defensively, your units are very vulnerable when warping in, and it's very important. The first pylon can go right next to your nexus. It's a super pylon, and also it allows you to keep your buildings pretty close to your probes where you want to defend. And I'm getting that gateway right off the bat. And also allows you to get potentially a shield battery or 2 by your mineral line in order to defend against attack as well. So getting a gateway on 16, immediately still making probes. Assimilator on 17. And I actually should have... I made a mistake. I usually like to scout off the gateway, but scouting around a minute is fine. Hotkey the probe and sending it out. Alright. So I'm not going to use my second chrono boost here. I'm going to go into gas, and I'm going to go down for an expansion. And then I'm going to bring that probe right back up, and I'm going to make a cybernetics core. And I'm going to make it right next to that pylon. The reason I'm not using my chrono boost right now is because I don't know. Maybe he has a bunch of barracks near my base or something like that. But now we're making another probe. He has 1 barracks. He is getting 1 gas geyser. He already has 1 gas geyser. How much has he mined? You start at 2250. He's mined 100. It's not really something to be too worried about. I'm going to get a gas geyser in my second pylon. And I'm just going to use this chrono boost when I have it. Yeah, we see an expansion. See the expansion? He just spent 400 minerals on that. That's not cheap. Alright. So that way I can just sit back. I'm going to make a stalker. And that stalker will go across the map. The best way to scout someone is to attack them, right? So I'm going to use that stalker to attack. We're going to use a chrono here. And a chrono there on the warp gate. Just make sure we get that started. Have it in our mind. Alright, and I'm going to start with a robotics facility. A robotics facility gives you observers and immortals and potentially a warp prism. It'll keep you safe early on, but also... Go get him. Oh, we see he has a Reaper. Okay, if he has a Reaper, then I'm going to make a second Stalker now. Now, I can go over 16 probes on the Nexus. That's not a crime. But... Yeah, the Reaper can jump in here. It's important to know the map as well. Hunt down the Reaper. Don't want to... I wasn't making probes there. That's a pretty big mistake. But a good thing to be looking at is 3 gateways and a robo by the 4-minute mark. Yeah, your gateways might not be 100% finished yet. I'm going to chrono boost out this observer. But 3 gateways and a robo. And once you have that all set up, 1 pylon at the front. I usually, if I thought he was going to do a direct attack, I would have made a pylon at the front a lot quicker. But I saw he was expanding, so I don't really need that quite yet. Now, by about the 4-minute mark, a Twilight Council is a good piece of tech to add on. Whoop. Gotta be careful. Gonna do a little bit of micro here, but... Oh, a Cyclone is way too scary. Get a shield battery in the front, and around the 4-minute mark, a shield battery in the main mineral line, and your warp gate should be finishing up. I have 1 observer going across. This other observer is going to be close to home. I'm going to warp in a sentry, and I've been making big mistakes on the probes, so I'm going to chrono boost them out. So you got to keep up on that probe production. The goal is to have 50 probes by 8 minutes. Now, I'm okay because I expanded early. You can get a lot more than that, but if you don't have at least that many, you can be in trouble. Alright. So, I'm going to go for an Immortal here. I've got another pylon on the way. And I'm going to go for Blink. Blink allows your Stalkers to teleport. Just because you have Blink Stalkers doesn't mean you have to use them, but it's probably one of the safer upgrades to keep your Stalkers alive. And it can really help you against Terran because they have things like Medevacs and Liberators, these air units that you need to pick off, and Zealots don't hit up. But around 5 to 6 minutes, I'm looking at a third base because I have an observer right over him. I'm even putting it in surveillance mode where it won't move. It's a little bit easier for him to spot. It gets more vision. But also the Select All Army hotkey won't use it. The same for this observer over here. Okay. By 6 minutes, I should have already started a forge, but by 6 minutes, I'm getting 2 forges, and I'm going to go for double upgrades, because that's where the Chrono Boost is going to go. Upgraded units, if you get enough of them, a lot of players at lower levels, you got to start somewhere, right? A lot of players just do not use their upgrades well. They just don't. They don't get them in time, and upgrades are really important because they affect... Did you see that? We had that observer. I am supply blocked, but he's got medevacs coming in from both sides. Oh wait, that's a Liberator. But we can take it out with the Stalkers. You gotta be careful you don't want to get in liberation range. But that's the importance of having vision in those corners. Alright. Now, despite the fact this is happening, it's important to not freak out. Just because he's doing some harass doesn't mean you can't do anything else. So what I'm trying to get to now is I'm going to get Charge, I'm going to get a Templar Archives, and I'm going to get some more Observers. Because I just defended 2 attacks. I defended that drop. I made sure not to use my Select All Army hotkey. Might take a little bit more time to manually move the units over, but in the long run, if you use the Select All Army hotkey, you can't defend 2 attacks at once. It's just how it is. And as I'm getting a third base, I'm trying to get vision. I don't want to get attacked. So right now, I'm making sure I see everything. I had a probe to see if he had a base over there. And I should have done this a little while ago. By about 6:30, I'm trying to add on gates 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why not 9 or 10? I got this observer. I'm going to send it to the front. I'm going to send 1 Stalker over here. And I'm warping Templar and getting the Storm. Now, it's important to hotkey the Templar on a separate hotkey. I usually use 3 for the spellcasters. Because if you don't, it's going to be hard to use them on their own. It looks like he killed one of my observers. But I got another one. I'm going to put this one at the front. It's very important to know where the Terran army is. I don't want to just make it my entire job, but it's a big part of it. Now, because we're getting to that stage of the game where his army's getting pretty big, but so is mine, I'm getting cannons around the edges of my base. This is to keep units from coming in very easily. I don't want to just get them in here. I don't want to let them just drop out into my base. I'm actually going to get a few High Templar for Archons as well.
Insufficient Vespine gas.
Now I have this observer. We'll put it in surveillance mode, so we don't use it too quick. Warping the Zealots here, and I'm going to shift 1 to bring them into my control group. Pretty nice to see that, isn't it? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to control click to move the Stalkers into the main as well. Really focus on those upgrades and Chrono Boost. I'm starting to have a lot of money. Make sure I've got all this gas. And I'm going to take another base. Maybe I warp in a few more Stalkers in the main base. We have the Templar there. Oh, and there you go. We knew they were coming. We just didn't know when. But just a little bit of vision, and we see. Chrono Boost on those forges. Can get some Zealots. He's not going for a big tank-based army. He's got a lot of Marines, a lot of Marauders. Okay, he has several tanks. But with good upgrades, Zealots, as long as you don't fight into this tiny little choke point where all the splash damage washes over you like a tsunami, you should be okay. Gonna get some cannons over here and some shield batteries to back them up. In general, I'm kind of slacking on this, but having a shield battery and a cannon, the cannon's outside the mineral line so they don't disturb your mining. As I do as I say, not as I do, right? Well, we look at his upgrades. C11. Is that a turret? Let's get that observer out of there. And now, I'm thinking about attacking. Now, he has been pretty aggressive, which is why I didn't attack. I don't need to attack if he's going to be aggressive and he's going to have a worse economy. We hover over that top right and see 82 probes. I'm actually done. I made enough probes here. So what I want to do in order to be able to attack, the easiest way is to have a warp prism. I'm actually going to make a second one. They're a big deal. And if you can get it into the main base. Now, I'm going to warp in some more Archons. Archons are really good because they're super tanky. They have a ton of shields. So they eat a lot of that tank damage. I've got my Templar on this hotkey. I'm going to hotkey my warp prism. I usually put it on 6. And before we do anything else, let's see what else we need. That's a battlecruiser. Well, he took me by surprise there. But I want to chrono boost what I can. Get another base. Get some more tech. Get a Dark Shrine. The sneaky battlecruiser harass. But we already have plenty of units to deal with it. Oh no. My warp prism. That's okay. Because I took out the battlecruiser. Thank you, free open. Alright, we've got this base. I've got plenty of gateways and tech. It is a good time to attack. I'm gonna warp in on this sign.
Not possible. Supply limit reached.
And it looks like he's out of position. If I see too many tanks, I'll back off, but there are no units on top of them. Use the Guardian shields. Ooh, that's a lot of tanks. And I'll back off so the Marines will come into the storms. And we can do that. I'll just target this base. There's no reason to lose my entire army. Gonna warp in some more Templar. Get some more Zealots. But I took a base. I took a lot of his Marines. Now I can get all these upgrades. Get another Warp Prism. Maybe get another Robo. I've got more mining from this base.
Army upgraded.
Uh-oh, he's attacking. I'm gonna recall my army back to defend. Recall, be careful about which Nexus you recalled from, by the way. Oh, my Templar got left behind. That's a mistake. But let's try to get out here. I brought these Zealots in from the left side. Oh, I'm out of position. Okay, so what I want to do is take this fight from two sides while we get the Zealots in on this and all that. But I don't want the tanks to just be all focused on one area. I want them to be focused on two sides, so that way their damage is split. Just a little bit of time, split going back and forth. You can eat some losses. It's really important to not just attack from one angle.
Cannot warp there.
Maybe I'll get some more stalkers here, but the Zealots at the same time were pretty helpful.
My charge.
I could make Colossi now. I can pretty much make anything, but I have the upgrades, so we're in good shape. I see I'm starting to mine out. We can transfer probes. I can use my camera locations as well, if I have them set up. There is a planetary, but is there enough to defend? Battle cruisers are pretty countered by stalkers, especially if they don't have very good upgrades. I have the Templar back here. He's got a lot of tanks, but the Immortals are helping to punch through. You can blink. And GG. But the key to Protoss versus Terran is not getting caught out of position. Yeah, you see we had 20 less APM, but it's not about how much you have, it's about how you use it. And just making sure you get at least 1 point of tech early on. Whether it's Robo, I think Robo's the easiest, but not necessarily the best. Getting your expansions up in a timely manner and getting those upgrades for your ground units are very helpful. And I think that's very important to focus on, is you don't need this as the cheese build. There are plenty out there. I'm sure you can find them. But that's the basic way to play Protoss.